Ram, Jeep, Dodge, and even Chrysler are going out of business. It's almost inevitable when we talk about their vehicles are literally rotting away. You walk down the car lots and there's no shortage of excess inventory. And yes, we're seeing vehicles are selling to a small degree. That's only because they're heavily incentivized. But the writing's on the wall. We have UAW wants the CEO of Stellantis to say bye-bye because he's not listening. He clearly is ignoring the American buyer, and he has an entirely new set of plans for the brand. But what we're looking at are some of the worst selling products in the inventory in the marketplace. We have vehicles like Ram not selling that well. They've had to literally sell them for mass incentives. I've walked down car lots and I've seen vehicles selling for $15,000, $18,000, $20,000 marketed off. That's because they were trying to sell Rams that aren't selling. The flip side is what we're seeing are full-size Ram HD pickup trucks going for $100,000, $110,000, $120,000. I mean, who can afford that? So that's no surprise that they're sitting around. We're also seeing a lot of the newer trucks, the brand new trucks are now that we're seeing are actually coming to a close. The Ram Classic. They're planning on waving bye-bye to that truck. And by the time we see October, November roll around, most of those trucks are going to hit the last vehicles on the assembly line. The writing is on the wall. Ram's not selling many of their models, and the ones that they are keeping around just aren't selling well enough. We're seeing the average day supply in the industry for vehicles are around 68 days right now. That means if you continually producing vehicles at the same rate you are today and the way they sell at the same rate they are selling, that it would take about that many days for the average inventory to go completely deplete. Well, when we look at brands like Toyota and Honda, they're getting rid of their inventory and they only have 20, 30 days supply of inventory. So basically a month's worth of inventory, and if they stop producing today, they would run out of all sorts of inventory naturally. Now, they don't have a lot of stock typically sitting on the car lots, but when we look at Stellantis, the car lots are full. And sure, while there's the odd person walking in and buying them, a lot of those people are starting to realize, a lot of buyers are starting to realize that these prices are way too high. 100 grand for a diesel, even a half-ton pickup truck for $80,000, $90,000. Clearly the writing's on the wall, people aren't buying them and they're sitting. Now we're seeing Rams. I've walked down many of these car lots and I've seen these vehicles sitting for, I've still seen the odd 2022 model year sitting around. There's still a few 2023s and a whole pile of 24s. And as we're starting to see allocations are being pushed on the dealers, they're saying you need to take these allocations. We're now trying to sell 25s, but the dealers can't sell what they've got today. So we're seeing 2 and 3 year old vehicles piling up on the lots. And that's leading to a whole new challenge that's going to run a lot of these vehicle brands, specifically Ram, Jeep, Stellantis products, even as well as Chrysler. And all of those are not selling that well. We're seeing a lot of old inventory sitting around, and that leads to one key issue. But we'll get to that issue. Dodge. We know they're also not selling well. We also know they're going full EV for a lot of the Charger Challengers. We also see the Dodge Hornet, the worst, and I mean the worst selling vehicle on the market today. Absolutely not selling. Poorly. I've probably seen 3 in the wild right now myself. I saw 1 in California. I've seen 2 here in Alberta, and that's since they've come out. I just don't see them. Nobody's buying them. They're not selling very well. The Durango also looks like the days are numbered for the Durango. They're not selling, and I'm seeing older inventory sitting around of those as well. Jeeps, well, let's just say vehicles like the Compass are not selling. When they're charging 47 grand for a new Compass, they're disconnected from reality. I even saw some that were decked out, top trim level in the new Compass for $55,000. I mean, what's going on here? So clearly these vehicles are not selling, and we're starting to see those sit for longer and longer and longer periods of time. Jeeps, yes, they're starting to see heavy incentives, and there was a time, you go about 2.5 years ago, where a Wrangler was selling for 15 or 20K over sticker. Clearly people were out to lunch and people were paying that. Of course, you reset the whole market by doing that, and now we have a position where these dealers knew that people were willing to pay it, and so it sort of pushed that whole market. The reset was getting bumped up. And now we're in a different place. Okay, they were popular, we've now transitioned to a place where it's not entirely a buyer's market. We're in a bit of a stalemate scenario where the dealers still have this perception that customers are going to buy it. One yo-yo comes in, actually spends that high price, and that sort of establishes the new benchmark. The downside is the most people just don't realize or just can't fathom spending that kind of money. So we're seeing Wranglers sitting. We're seeing they're just not selling at all. Not very well. Jeep Grand Cherokee's not selling. The Wagoneers, the Wagoneer S, well, is coming out, is full electrification, but the Wagoneer and the Grand Wagoneer are surprisingly selling a small amount. They're doing a little bit better than a lot of their brethren, but Jeeps aren't selling that well either. And specifically, the Wrangler is identified as being grossly overpriced. And now, where people were paying 15 over, now some people are paying at sticker or even less for brand new Wranglers. So what does that mean when we're starting to see Wranglers? We're starting to see Grand Cherokees. We're starting to see Dodge Durangos and Compasses and Ram pickup trucks. And all of the Stellantis products are sitting on the lot for a significant amount of time. How long, you say? Well, we already said days supply is averaging in the industry about 68 days. But the worst part is, what we're seeing is now most of the Stellantis products, even Alfa Romeo, were up around that 130, 125 to 128 days supply, meaning it's still at least double the industry average. Not only that, we're seeing some of the other brands, of course, Dodge and Chrysler, they're also very high day supply. We're all in that 130, 140 days supply. As well as Ram is over double, well over double's days supply, and we're talking 150, 160 days supply. But I've gone and searched Car Gurus. I filtered out the search, and I've looked for vehicles that were considered brand new with low or no Ks, essentially demo variations, basically under 1,000 miles is kind of how you filter that out. And they're brand new vehicles. I'm still seeing vehicles that have 600, 700 days on the market. This is ridiculous. So they're not selling. So herein lies the new problem. Now, the manufacturer is being pressured by the individual franchise dealers to take these back. We don't want to. We take these 23s, 24s. We can't sell them. You need to get rid of them for us. But the manufacturer's saying, yeah, that's not happening. We have an accountability here, or you do, to sell these vehicles. And we have a deal and an agreement. So there's a little bit of hardball going back and forth there. But the unfortunate part is they're not selling, and a lot of them aren't. And so now we have vehicles that are sitting on the lot. And this is going to cause a lot of heartbreak, heartache. And of course, we're seeing the trimming of the fat here. We're seeing Stellantis moving VPs, executives around, firing some, retiring others. We're seeing, of course, a lot of these changes reflect some uncertainty and volatility in the marketplace. And that's really taking a significant toll on Stellantis as a whole. Now, you have UAW saying, hey, you promised us to create these thousands of new jobs. You promised us you would create this Belvedere plant and repurpose it to produce new, smaller pickup trucks. You promised us a bunch of things and you're not delivering, and we're going to sue you. And so, unfortunately, allegedly, that's the storyline now. We have UAW playing hardball, Stellantis saying, we can't handle this. We're pretty much sinking. This is going into a quicksand scenario, and we don't know what to do. They're shaving off models that aren't selling, but yet they're still committing all of this dollars into the electrification market, when on the backside, look across the fence, and we're seeing Tesla having to trim down and highly incentivize their vehicles because they're not selling. We're seeing brands like Mercedes and the EQE, EQSs are not selling, so they're having heavily incentivize those. Audi, e-tron GTs, they're not selling, so they're incentivizing those. So the entire industry is recognizing that electric vehicles, while they are selling and they're gaining a slow amount of market share, there's just too much. It's almost like you can handle a small amount of that little drink. Tastes amazing if you take a sip, but try to guzzle it, it's way too sweet and way too rich. This is what's going on. You can tolerate it in small doses, but the market's not taking it. Nobody wants to tolerate the EV market coming in like a flood for various reasons. And so yet we have Stellantis pushing all of these electric vehicles and the plan and the hopes and the dreams to push those to the market. by 2025, 2026, we're going to see more and more of these models. So the back end of even 24 promises to start to see some shifting in the industry. But people aren't buying it. And it's bad enough the ICE vehicles by Stellantis have durability and reliability issues, and the reputation is starting to have buyers think about it twice. So now you have a scenario where the vehicles are overpriced, the pickup trucks way overpriced. We're seeing it in the Jeeps way overpriced. I've already expressed some of the prices I've seen out there. But they're not selling because of the high prices, and that's compounded, of course, now naturally by lacking of quality. And now you have pressures from the manufacturer pushing down on dealers. You have UAW pushing back on them. You have the press, you have the public saying, hey, we want better prices. And now you have Stellantis, I don't know. They're trying to keep a chin up. They're trying to keep a smile on their face, but I can't help but think that they go home and cry themselves to sleep every single night because they're not selling their vehicles. It's a sad, sad state of affairs, but they kind of did it to themselves. And only idiots were out there paying over a sticker in the first place. And I don't mean that in a harsh way, but let's face it. Anybody willing to pay over a sticker price has been a part of this problem, has been a contributing factor to what Stellantis is dealing with today. People were overpaying. Stellantis reset that market. And now we have a place where the idiots are gone. They're filtered out of the market. And what's left are people that are just reasonable buyers, just looking for a reasonable purchase, and they can't find it. Of course, not to mention, we have the cost of living crisis is taking a serious toll on people. People are just trying to eat. Have you heard McDonald's sales are down in the toilet? Subway, they had an emergency meeting with all of the franchisees to say, we have to scramble and figure out why we're not selling subs. Could it be that your $5 footlong sub is now 3 or 4 years later, now costs $14. Think about it. This is what's going on. And Stellantis is in the same boat. People are not buying. So we're seeing day supply rising. And the only way they'll sell is with major incentives. Now, all of this couldn't come at a worse time. Higher inflation. Obviously, interest rates are still at a significant rate. And we're seeing unemployment rates still hovering. People are maxed out, taxed out. They can't afford the taxes. They can't afford rent and food. But on top of it, their credit cards are maxed out. People are living beyond their means. Vehicles are highly priced. And of course, even student loans are taking a toll. Just look at your neighbor to your right or to your left. One of those is underwater, guaranteed. And that's what's going on in America today, Canada today. Everybody's maxed out, just trying to survive. And people are going underwater at an alarming rate. And this is what's happening. So what we're seeing is now brands like Stellantis, who have one of the worst records for sales in the last few years now, because their prices are too high and their day supply is out of this world. One of the worst on the market today. So now we have a scenario of called rot lot. Have you heard about that? Rot lot. So this is what's going to really push them over the edge. Now we have all of this old inventory. They can't sell. They've committed highly paid resources like UAW strike workers. They've paid all their CEOs in the $30 million plus, and their VPs at the head table are all getting the big paychecks. But people aren't buying. And all these vehicles that were built back in 2021, 22, 23 were done so with high wages, high supply chain parts that were hard to come by, chips. We know that was a challenge. So all this investment was put in, but these products are sitting on the lot just rotting away. We know what goes on with rot lot. Tires only have a finite lifespan, 8 to 10 years, and you've got to change them. They start developing cracks and fissures, and you have to throw them out for safety reasons. Every year that the vehicle also sit on the lot, oils and fluids. Why do you think the manufacturers always tell you, any vendor says, you have to change oil at 8,000 miles and or yearly. So these vehicles are sitting there 2, 3, 4 years old on the lot and they're brand new and they've never had oil services yet. So we know that's taking a toll on the bottom of the engine. We're getting a lot of this moisture in the oil that's taking a toll. Old oil in the engine's not ideal. So vehicles that sit, we're seeing deterioration on the engine, deterioration in the tires, deterioration in the sun as it's getting beat down from the sun above, and of course deterioration of batteries. Even a standard ICE battery is only good for 4, 5, 6 years with these complex technology. And think about hybrid or EV batteries that are sitting there uncharged for a significant amount of time. Batteries have a fixed shelf life. So if you're talking about a car that's 3 or 4 years old now, even though it's new, it's entirely deteriorated. I wouldn't give half of what that normal natural sticker was for a vehicle that's 4 years old already. I don't care if it's brand new, because rot lot is taking a toll. And not a lot of people want to buy those 2 or 3 year old vehicles already when the 25s are rolling in. So talk about a hard conundrum that Ram, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep are all faced with. It's inevitable. The cost of living crisis, people aren't buying, but those guys aren't selling their vehicles. And what we're starting to see now is this rot lot's going to be the next wave of deterioration and the next wave of cost impacts to some of these companies. This is a very devastating time, especially specifically for Stellantis, as they're one of the hardest hit brands or manufacturers that aren't selling vehicles. Sure, lot rot's real and it happens to every car manufacturer. But when Honda keeps a vehicle turned around in a month or every 2 months, that's not really an impact. But if you have vehicles that are sitting around for a significant amount of time, as in 2 or 3 years, that's starting to pay an impact. What are they going to do with those? Sell them to the auction? Sell them to wholesalers or maybe fleets? Even those people are starting to learn the writings on the wall. This is going to have a major impact, not to mention being sued by UAW, not to mention people walking away from these brands, not to mention this research and development that's going heavy and hard into the electrification market. It really leaves the future uncertain for Stellantis, like the Jeeps, Rams, Chrysler. It is absolutely devastating, and there's really nowhere for them to go right now other than part out, walk away, and cut your losses. You're definitely going to want to see that. Learn more about that storyline. Hope to see each and every one of you on the next one. See you real soon. Bye-bye.